Hey team, I'm Maddie. Welcome to Science Side Up. And today we're gonna do an episode of Gaming Grad School, and I'm gonna talk about failure. We're just gonna have some story time with Maddie. So I think there's kind of two things I'm talking about here when I'm talking about failure in grad school. One is the feeling of failure, or the feeling of being a failure, because you're not being constantly reassured that you aren't, or that you're doing things right. And that is something that's a very important habit and mindset to break, and very hard to break. I'm working on it. I'm clearly not great at it, and I've been doing this like school thing for a while. That is kind of a breaking out of sort of what you were trained to think about yourself, or how you like value yourself in, high school and even earlier, and things that like, oh, look, you got an A, you're really smart, that means good, right? And when you just get this constant positive reinforcement, it's great, but then it's taken away. Right? And you're like, whoa, I've never had to navigate the world without that constant positive reinforcement before. And you have to, take the time, I think, to self-evaluate and reflect and think about where you as a human, like, derive your worth. And that sounds like something for, not my field. Someone who is an expert in not meteorology should probably talk about that, and not me. I'm just talking about like my experience. And be nice to yourself, right? You're gonna feel that way sometimes. But just remember, I think this is my PSA to say for everybody who's like deeply struggling with their, but am I doing a good job? I legitimately can't tell because I don't have a piece of paper that gives me a grade to tell me how well I did in research this week. That's hard. And you know what? You're doing a good job. If you weren't, someone would tell you, right? And I think that's kind of the thing to remember. God bless my advisor. I was having a real hard time. I'll probably tell that story someday, not today. Just having a real hard time, and I was crying in his office, and I do not cry at work. That's a thing I don't do, right? Navy beat that out of me. But it was just a really bad time in my life, and I was convinced that I was like completely failing at grad school, and that I like couldn't do this, that I should just drop out. And he was like, Maddie, if you were doing a bad job, I'd tell you. Like, he says it like it's the most obvious thing in the world. And I'm like, would you really? Just crying. And bless his heart, he was so uncomfortable. He's got a little baby now, and I feel like I might have helped train him for fatherhood in dealing with tears. So, good job me. Anyway, so to any grad students listening to this, you're doing fine. Just keep putting that one foot in front of the other, and you've just got to figure it out. And that's a really hard thing to adjust to, because if there was an answer in a book, dear God, I would have found it by now, right? If there was an answer to this problem I'm working on in a book. I'm very good at finding answers in books. That's why I got the good grades in the high school. And so that's definitely really hard. And so that feeling of failure is kind of persistent. And I think the only way to get around that is to, like, I don't know, find some self-worth inside yourself. That seems hard. I'm working on it. We're all working on it, right? No one's got this figured out. We're just doing the best we can. And I probably feel better about myself if I like could go hang out with friends and that felt safe. But grad school in the time of Corona, it's special. The other type of failure that I want to talk about is like real, nope, I tried that blew up in my face, and I failed. I legitimately failed, and I have to try something else now. The story I have about myself and Maddie's failure is once upon a time when I was a 19-year-old sophomore in college, little Oklahoma kid out in Boston, going to MIT. Definitely thinking that I was the dumbest one there. Yeah, this is good feelings. And I wanted to study pure math. I wanted to do theoretical mathematics. And your freshman year, everybody's kind of taking the same classes. So my first real theoretical math class I was taking, and I was so bad at it. I was so bad at it, guys. I was real analysis at MIT. I was an 18100C. And a lot of the other kids in the class had taken, if not real analysis, then at least some proof-based math class before, and I just hadn't, right? That just was not an option for me before this exact moment in my life. And I was so lost. And the thing is, I worked so hard at that class. I was friends with the TA until I graduated, because every time his office hours doors were open, I was in his office, and I dragged myself through those homeworks, and I would get like 100 on the homeworks. I would get like that 90 or 90 to 100 something, because I was spending 20 hours a week doing them, right? And I put in the work, and I did it. I did everything I knew to do, and I forget what I got on the first exam. It wasn't great, but it wasn't unrecoverable. And then I get into the second exam, and it was a second of 3, mind you. So this was like about a third of the grade, right? And the whole test was 3 questions. Welcome to high-level math, right? The whole test was 3 questions, and I got a 26% on this exam. And as bad as that felt, what felt even worse was on one of the problems. See, I remember this almost 10 years later, like with the same emotional potency. I had a page full of work. I wrote out a full answer, right? And when I got it back graded, in the little upper right-hand corner, there was just a red goose egg, just a 0. Nothing else on the paper. I might as well just written a nice little story about a pony, right? For all the sense that my answer made. And I dropped the class in lieu of failing it. That was the first time in my life, and one of the few times in my life, where I've had this feeling of, it does not matter how much time and energy I put into this. I am not gonna get a win here. We're not gonna get a W. I cannot pass this class. And that stung more than a little. And that's not to say that I'm incapable of learning real analysis. Still don't know any of it. Never took that class again. Didn't want to do it anymore. It turns out I hate theoretical math, and I just had to take a class in it to learn that. Like applied math, though. I really do. And I got a degree in math from MIT without passing real analysis. I don't know, I think so many times when people talk about failure, they talk about but I didn't give up, and then I succeeded. And that's not always how that story plays out. Sometimes it's, yeah, I failed at that thing. I tried a thing and I failed at it. And that's just what happened. And the important thing there is that I wasn't wrong for trying. I don't regret taking that class. I don't regret the hours I put into it. I think a lot of people talk about like, oh, you have to learn from your failures or learn from your mistakes or always fail forward or something like that. And that's not bad advice, but I just kind of want to talk about the other side of that, which is maybe a little less self-help booky and a little more like, look, if you put yourself out there. If you try new things, if you try hard things, you're not always going to be successful, and that's okay. Embracing failure, not being afraid of failure, is gonna get you a lot further than fear of failure can make us risk adverse. It can make us not want to try something new. It can make us, you know, maybe I don't want to do my thesis on X because what if there's nothing there? I know I can do something here, right? But what if we go after X and it's really cool, right? What if it works? You know, what if you don't fail? And I think that fear of failure keeps us stuck a lot of the times. It keeps us from doing some cool science, maybe. I don't know. So there's that. I think I made a point. That's something like a point. Okay, team, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was encouraging in some ways. I don't know. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget to be kind, and I will see you all next time. Bye, team.